hitting the live button for Visionaries Unlimited today.
Hello, hello.
Understanding. Oh, yes. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Maria. Nice to see you. Find each other in here. And nice to see you. And it's nice to have you, Visionary. Today, we get to understand a bit better, a bit deeper, a bit more of what it truly takes for making change happen, for social change, ecological change, environmental change, like all the changes that you may think of. Why is it not happening from a certain perspective? What is stopping it from happening? And what are the conditions we should all together cause and embody so that it happens the way we want it. I mean, not to be like it needs to happen like I want it, or like no, but it's just, there's a positive without going into the good or bad or evil and whatever kind of conversation, but there's something that feels good and something that quite doesn't. So good change, what does it take? I bet you have some answers. I bet you have some inputs, ideas that immediately come to mind as soon as this question is placed on the table for the discussion today. Maria, what's on the table for you?
So, the first thing that came to me, obviously, is that inner change has to happen, first of all. If one doesn't change its own mindset, it's impossible to expect the world to change. And the world will be changing in a way, but it may not be changing in the way that you expect or either at the rhythm that you or pace that you would like it to change. And that probably will never happen. And that is okay. I do agree anyway that our world, our society could evolve at a higher pace. And we could all lovingly and passionately contribute to that happening. Um, so, my first answer is the change needs to happen within. First of all, to be responsible for the change that you can cause in your own environment. So, in your own life, like in your own body, in your own mind, in your own lifestyle, and then in those around you, not because they're more important than those who are afar, but just because that is the practice for you to really see how can you, by you changing, others can also be transformed. And not because you're trying to change them, by the way, just that you see the impact that immediately happens. And then, of course, when you have a certain level of consciousness of what you can do, and you do it, and everybody or a large percentage of society starts doing so, it's inevitable that our political systems change. And when our political systems change, the decisions that we all make more conscious and more sustainable and more quick as they are needed will happen. But first of all, we need to be open and we need to take responsibility for our own lives and make a change in our lives.
Okay, as I do see what you, Maria, are sharing, there are a few pieces I will reinforce first, and then try to pick from you also how you see this inevitability, because in a way I do see as well that it becomes inevitable as long as we have that inner work, inner transformation
Mhm.
at an individual level. Things will change, and it is, so to speak, inevitable. I will drill a little bit into this inevitability because that's what we're kind of interested into. And at the same time, I reinforce the aspect of the inner work. I was having this conversation the other day, which in a way inspired the topic today from my side, that This woman was asking in a post on LinkedIn, what is happening that governments are taking action and nothing's changing? They're taking linear action. They're staying in the same. They're honoring the status quo of things. They're not being bold enough to risk something also of themselves. And it immediately goes back into inner work, into personal transformation. If you go to this direction, and as that is not being done at the higher levels of society, at the levels where they hold the power of control, where you see things like there are certain things you have control of, certain things you can somehow influence and affect and inspire, and there are other things that are totally out of your reach. This is for all of us. In a certain way, on a social level, it should be equal, and it is completely polarized. So the true change at a social level, and here I'm separating things that I see, the true change at a social level comes from an inner transformation at the higher positions, and from an education, a proper, and let me say proper, I'm polarizing here and I know I'm doing, but a proper education, inner education, no, not inner, sorry, holistic education that goes within, that goes without, of the ones that will come and that will replace the ones who are now at the position, at the decision-making position. And I'm keeping on expanding a little bit on the whole picture, just to reinforce, as I said at the beginning, the importance of the inner work. Inner work will wash away the egotistic control over society and over the status quo. The status quo is comfortable to some, very uncomfortable to many. And that inner work, it is inevitable. That inner work is inevitably causing shifts inside, that if a politician starts spiritual pursuit of his own life and so on and so forth, if an institution, a whole institution, starts making sure that every single employee works with compassion first, things are going to change. Things are going to shift. Now, inevitability. Why is it so inevitable that inner work moves, change at all levels from your perspective? Maria, why there's this inevitability aspect, element?
Because if it doesn't start within, it's not going to happen, or it's going to happen at a pace that we can all see that is not fast enough, in a way, from the time space reality, okay, that we see that we are maybe more likely destroying more life rather than creating it in general. And when we talk about society, if we lose the focus that the problem is out there, others are creating these problems, I want to solve and help this world that others are creating as a problem. If I keep on reinforcing this idea, even if I have the best intention to help the world, and I don't see that I'm part of the problem because I am still a mess myself. Like there's still violence in me. There's still a lot of compulsive thinking, compulsive feeling, compulsive acting, that I think I'm right when I'm probably wrong, like self-righteousness, that I think that I have better values than other people, so things should be my way, all these things. It's like a proper washing of the wounded um, and damaging ego in a way, which is understandable because it's protective. This ego also has been born out of a world that didn't feel loving and nurturing. So we have developed these defenses within ourselves that are huge. And we get into the attack mode and defense mode so easily because of this. So this, in a way, is the inner work has to start in the early years. Otherwise, we have seen, if history, at least to me, has showed us something, is that where there is no inner work, there is proper mess at all levels of society. In yourself, in your family, in your businesses, in the businesses that you create, in the political parties that you are part of, or the ones that you're voting, it's a proper mess because you are disconnected from the essence of the universe and from life. And if
Very
we
well
want
made
any
one, yes.
sustainable growth to happen, it has to be connected to the universe. And the universe will tell us what kind of growth is meant to happen on Earth. So there's something also that we cannot impose. Also, the planet, I believe, is going under its own self-destruction processes that may not be all caused by climate change, but it's part of its own evolution, its own reinvention, its own whatever. So we, at some point, can accompany also the planet in its evolution and not be a problem for the planet, and also accept that we are also going to be part of the destruction of the planet to some extent, as our life as a human has a beginning and has an end. So that's also that we need to also fully accept this with some of the processes in the planet that are happening. But well, climate change is an issue. So to me, it's like societies, all the political systems there, everything that has been created, our economic systems, capitalism. By the way, I have nothing against money. I have nothing against anything except for the things that are dysfunctional for everyone. That is something that I cannot be part of. And you see that something is dysfunctional when it's not making people feel safe and excited about life. There's dysfunction there because life per se, the essence of life is living, being in the present moment and being more of who you are in that process. That's the kind of natural growth that happens until death comes. That's the natural growth that happens. So in society, it should be something similar to that. And then it would not be dysfunctional. And we would also, all of us, accept whatever kind of growth humanity is meant to happen in its own evolution, but from a level of functionality, where we are all performing at our best and every single human being is doing their best. So leaders, again, it comes back to political systems. We don't have the most conscious leaders in place. So what do we expect?
So I want to deconstruct. I know we don't have infinite time, so to speak, but the point where I would have led these, as you were talking, and you touched on it in a way before this last point, was compassion in a very simple way. As one of the, I must say, as one of the elements required, and it's not all the elements, but it's one very fundamental one, because until you try to remove or kill or fight and now it's kind of going towards politicians or government or anyone who's got some degree of control and that is opposing in some way him or herself to change to positive, good, functional change. Until there's a fight against it, there will be a fighter as an opponent. There's no peace in that. There'll keep on being war. And if there's compassion and understanding that, Maria, you brought it up from a perspective that I really love looking at things from, which is if you zoom out from the humanitarian perspective, from the anthropocentric perspective, we're nothing but a little rock floating around a big sun supernova, or even supernova, maybe. Um, and humanity ending or keeping on going doesn't really, I mean, it makes a difference, but this is why I'm zooming out now. I won't get lost into that philosophical, beautiful conundrum. Zooming out, you see how like we're part of that whole. If Earths want to boom tomorrow, it does it. No way to stop it somehow. Compassion towards the ones who did what they did at the best possible understanding for what they came here for. And as we embrace these people, everyone, ourselves for our own mistakes, the others for their own mistakes, coming together, telling each other the mistake, compassionately coming together, supporting the next generation to emerge and rise in a more conscious way. In a more conscious, to me, is compassionate and understanding and intentional, educated, if you want, knowledgeable way. um, things won't really shift. And so here's where, like, with the new conscious way of making change, I bring in compassion, and it's probably a good hint to see what else would you bring. Like conscious, what does that mean? I always have this question in mind lately. What does conscious mean? Because conscious is the answer, and to really get to the juice of it, it needs to be the question: what is conscious? And I feel that I'll leave you with this question, actually. um Maria, if you, yeah, like, or 17 minutes in, if you want to add
Okay.
anything. Yeah, this is my own last piece. What is conscious?
Yeah, at least what is conscious to you, being conscious. Um, I think the great difference will come, dear, when most of humanity will understand that their family is humanity. It's not the 4 or 5 members they live with, it's the whole humanity. We are all brothers and sisters. This is not a romantic or idealistic idea. This is the truth. We are all related to one another, and this is our temporary home. This is also a truth. When most human beings are able to be conscious of this, you don't need to educate much, dear, because when you understand that everyone is your family and that this is your home, do you think a lot of education really needs to happen when you have that level of consciousness?
It's just a natural present living that transfers onto newcomers on this earth. So, I mean,
No.
education is just a label
Oh
of
yeah,
something that happens
sharing
natural,
sharing
but
valuable information would be a better way, um, to, I think, to put it.
I mean, yeah, yeah, it's a name. It's a name. You see, like how there will be a transfer. I mean, there will be the kids looking up to their parents and learning that model of living, because that's what they see. So that's what they get. That's what they get, and that's what they will do. That's how they will operate. Because that's what they will
Yeah.
see from us. So getting conscious, You don't raise conscious kids, as we said in the episode on education. You don't raise conscious kids. You actually raise conscious parents.
And there's also, like Ayrton and I believe, on a spiritual journey. Then some humans, because of the design, let's say the design that they come with through to this life, they have different challenges, and it is more difficult to ones to be more conscious of the all than to others. It takes different times, different levels of consciousness, very different challenges for every human being. But so long as you know that everybody else is here doing their best, and you know what love is, even if you cannot practice 24/7, because we are still of a level of human evolution that to me is not much evolved, even if you cannot practice unconditional love 24/7, that you know what it is, and that you have it as a reference in your mindset, in your being, on how to act before you act. So yes, I would just bring it back to understanding deeply that humanity is your family and planet Earth is your temporary home. If you know how to take care of it, then we will all grow in a sustainable way, all of us.
Oh yeah. So go for it. Visionary. Stand for you. We stand for you.
And this world needs you for sure.
Oh yeah, we need you. We need you. We need your ideas. We need your commitment. We need your fire. Go for it.
Your beauty, yes.
The allies are out there. You just need to find them. Here, you have some.
Absolutely.
Stay visionary.